I thought I'd take a quick moment this morning to try to catch everybody up on tracking down potential crash causes for Fallout 4. At least in my game, since these are the only crashes that I can get quite a lot of information on when they happen, because they're local. But what I want to do though first is I want to go back to at least a few load orders back to get an idea of what was going on and what I might have been thinking at the time would have been the cause, and kind of how to narrow this thing down. So I took a look earlier, which I think is what I got here, to go back far enough. So we're going to go back a few load orders. All right, so we're here with, let's see, it's about four orders back, and what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the history of it. Um, and what we're going to quickly look at is just the errors that I had encountered. Um, you can see that if we go all the way back up here to the top, you can see that again I had about a day, about 24 hours worth of gain time before I had a crash. I was moving a power pylon. This one seemed fairly stable because this was me moving, I think, a power pylon with place everywhere, and it crashed in the middle of moving it around. But then I got a UI crash. I think that was where, if I remember correctly, I think it was where I was doing a quest, and I got an animation. I got put in an animation frame, which was supposed to make me fall down, get back up with an explosion. But I was actually my Pit Boy at the time, and it didn't completely exit, quote quote, the Pit Boy. Even though you couldn't see any Pip-Boy menu, or my arm wasn't up to actually access any Pip-Boy menu. So once I fast traveled, that was a crash. But then I started getting these, and these are what I wanted to focus on. So I had here I had a 20, and they seemed to really, once I got to this point, they started to occur quite frequently. You can see I had 20s, cell geometry, 20, loose file stream here. Now this was for load order. This was for load orders back, virtual machine. And just to take a quick look at this, let's go in and take a look at virtual machine. Let's filter it back and let's see. So we had our virtual machine here. That was the last one, probably the last one on the stack. But this is what I wanted to see here, object cell. So the two things I was interested in was object cell. I believe this is happening because there is an inconsistency in the Pre-Vis pre-combined files. I think there is not necessarily a corruption. I think it's a mismatch on the versions. So I believe that the creation kit allows you to create pre-combined data files, and there's a version stamp on, or you either assign it or the creation kit assigns it. I'm assuming the person who creates it assigns the version stamp. I don't think it goes by the time it was created. That would be back in the days of Oblivion, when plug-in order to the game engine was based on the timestamp of the file, whereas here it's load order. So I'm assuming there's something internal to the file. I'm going to be looking at that here shortly to kind of see if it can help weed out potential problems like this, where the previs and pre-combined versions don't match. But that being said, I'm pretty sure this was previs and pre-combined. But when I caught this, I'm like, okay, I'm not really sure what this is. You can look up this virtual machine is where the VMD syncs, and then you have this object cell, which actually I think in the instructions shows it as being, let's see here, shows it as being a previous pre-combined issue. So yeah, object cell here. Missing, conflicting, or corrupted data. It's got a question mark in it. I believe it's conflicting data is the problem. All right, so I started getting these, but 20 came along with it, and a lot of these. I get these particular kernel-based ones here. But if you notice, they're all the same. You have 20, 20. This one, not really sure. This was a behavior graph, but you had 20s. Okay, now this right here, this particular error, not sure what I was doing at the time. Probably trying to resolve something. Maybe going in trying to clean a game save, which gave me a bad reference. Stack Overflow. That's where it was something was calling itself recursively. But then I had a 20 and a loose file stream. Now, this is four load orders back. All right, so now we're going to go up to the next one. And I know this seems like a lot of redundant information. But I want to show how it has improved over time. It's narrowed down. Okay, so here we're three load orders back. You can see that whatever problem existed in the previous load order, I now have in this new game. So this is a new game session. This is a totally new game. And you can see that 20 is still following me. It's when I'm nearing Pines Bluff, when I'm importing a settlement. So 20 is still a shadow on my shoulder. It's still here. All right. Then again, 20, 20, 20, 20. This is just this would have absolutely no bearing on trying to resolve the 20 issue. And then I'm back to where I have invalid references. So see, we're back to this 005 thing. So whatever problems I had in the Maggie Sinclair load order followed me into the Maria James. Now I can do this. I can overlay the installs and see if there's any additional things that I might have installed, and there usually is. I usually do this. I'll see some. Oh, that's so cool. I'm gonna throw it in. And that's what I do. So there are actually quite a few things that I had put in here. I think one of them might have been. I know I seen Zayton's in here somewhere, just caught out of the corner of my eye. I think this is where I put it in mid game. But it didn't really cause a lot of problems until here. And I think I tried to clean a game save, but I'm not. Don't quote me on that. I'm not positive. But what I was wanting to focus on was the 0110020, because this seems to be a consistent problem I have with when the game crashes. Okay, so let's go up to the next one. All right, so let's sneak up here to the next load order. And let's take a look at this. So now this one was full of them. This one had a lot of interesting problems, but at first you can see again we're a full day with no problems. We're hitting virtual machine again. We've got kernel based. I don't know. Let's take a look here and see if let's see if this is a buff out 4 issue. I mean, not a buff out 4 issue, but yes, this is what I'm looking for. There, that. So even though this is probably top of the stack, and a stack is usually what they call LIFO. You have two different types of it's not so much a queue. You can call it a queue, but it's not really like a queue. You have what they call LIFO and FIFO. LIFO is last in, first out. FIFO is first in, first out. So let's say you're in customer service and you have requests coming into your desk, coming into a help desk. Let's say you've got a web page set up and you are collecting call requests. You're going to want to use FIFO because the first person in the queue is the first person you want to get out, not the last one, because they've been waiting the longest. But in a stack, in computer stacks, it uses LIFO, which is last in, first out, because it's got to go, because it's like walking forward towards a goal. In order to backtrack to where you came from, you have to start stepping backwards. So you have to go from your last step to your previous step, not hop all the way back to the first step and then skip all the steps. But this is what I was looking for, which is this is a pre-combined problem. So I wasn't paying much attention to it. I didn't really notice it that much. So I kept going through here and, playing the game. I removed Zayton's. It was an interesting battle to get a game save back. But what actually got me to start a new game was this. Pip-Boy map data, because this was a guaranteed crash no matter what I did. I could not bring up the Pip-Boy. I could not bring up a weapon. It would instantly crash with Pip-Boy map data. I solved this up here in my current load order. I actually solved this because I went back to these game saves. I actually loaded previous game saves that I had problems with, and of course, naturally, it would crash with the same error. So I looked it up, and I'm like, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I think the advice that was given was to remove, actually go in, type in like PR, go into console, type in PRID 14, and then do unequip all. So once I typed in PRID 14, it set the target of whatever my commands are to the player, which was me. And then I did an unequip all, which removed everything off the player, including the Pip-Boy. When I added everything back onto the player, I could swap weapons. I could bring up the Pip-Boy without this Pip-Boy map data crash. So that's what that was, and that one was fairly easy to fix. But again, I still had virtual machines popping up, and let's see if it's still that TES cell thing. Alright. Yeah, see, okay. So this seems to be a consistent thing that's following me for the past 4 or 5 load orders. Loose file streams, like I say, don't happen to me anymore. I think I've kind of isolated the cause. I believe that was an arbitration issue. So now let's go up to the most current load order I have, which is going to be this one. And if you take a look, I've got same issues following up. Virtual machine. So nothing's really changed. My load order hasn't majorly changed. I've updated some files. I've added some new files, some new mods. So you can, okay, so this one is simply a virtual machine. There's no TES object cell. Let's take a look at this one real quick. But here. So whatever this problem is, whatever causing this at this point, whatever is causing this for me, has followed me for quite a few playthroughs. Quite a few. Like, it's followed me. I've got it here, 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 and here. And probably if I go back even further, let's see. Let's just take a shot in the dark here and see. This is where, okay, but this is not really going to be very helpful. I don't think this is even going to show. Well, actually, I do have buff out records back this far. Oh, nice. That's cool. All right. Yeah, see static collection, and then see again with the cell. So this is followed for quite a while. Quite a while. All right, let me clear this, and we will go back to this one. Okay, so this is my current load order. I'm still getting the same type of errors. And I'm thinking, okay, we have, and if you notice, virtual machines, I think if I look at these, I'm not going to see, I believe I'm going to see all TES objects. Okay, virtual machine, well, that one didn't quite pan like I was thinking. Let's see. This one's loaded. Okay, so here we go. There's the object. Okay, so I don't have any more loose file streams. There's no more really odd ones. There's no more Pip-Boy data, where I think I removed a bunch of stuff and it just didn't like it. Okay, so we're stuck on now the primary. So the most common problem I have now is this TES object in virtual machine. And one of the things I noticed when I was looking at it is I thought, okay, this is Pre-Vis. So let me take a look at the Pre-Vis stuff, which I've got all the Pre-Vis files down in here. These are all the Pre-Vis from here all the way down to here. This whole chunk. So this is the main Pre-Vis patch. This is Pre-Vis repair pack. Everything else should use the Pre-Vis repair pack as a master, so to speak, and then build their little patches off of that. Every single one of these should do that. What I noticed was some of my Pre-Vis patches were level 65. Some were like 65.2. Some were 65X. Others were 69. So I'm like, okay, I want to go ahead and make them all 69 point something. And I did, but I still had problems. I had problems in Sanctuary. And I'll throw up another video here and show you exactly what happens. And hopefully it'll crash like it did, which kind of clued me into specifically what I think it was. But I started getting these weird pop in, pop out, things would disappear, hole in the world, you know, those kind of voids of darkness, those strange things. And those are, even if you have Pre-Vis data in your game, in your load order, if it doesn't all match, the headers, if I'm not mistaken, if I read this correctly, the headers do have version numbers, indicators that determine whether they are to be used, if they will work together, if they're kind of base, if one Pre-Vis one Pre-Vis data is based off another data or uses another Pre-Vis's data as a base. If not, you're going to have mixed Pre-Vis data, and that's going to break it because the engine is going to see there's a difference. It's going to try to shut it off. But here's the catch. I'm beginning to think that it doesn't fully shut it off because it depends on at what point it determines there's a mismatch in the data. If it doesn't catch it right, or if only some data is mismatched but others matches, then the code gets caught in this really weird situation where it's like, okay, I've got some data, but I don't have enough data, and then it's going to crash. And that's what I think is causing all of this. But for now, sticking with the Pre-Vis, I thought, okay, I'm going to go back and I'm going to install all the new one, which is the 69 point something. Now there was an area that I did have before I updated this, and I did update this down here. Let's go all the way down here. I did update this down in here, so you can see I started to go in. I'm like, okay, I keep getting Pre-Vis crashes, so let's focus specifically on that, and that's what I started doing here. So you can see where I started changing which Pre-Vis repair pack patches that I installed, trying to get everything on 69 because I had mismatched versions. And I'll show you in Concord because I can actually go in and just quickly tick one of these and show you what the problem was, which I will do in the next video. But the thing is troubleshooting what this crash is. So the problem was I had mismatched versions. So the first thing I needed to do was try to get everything on the same page. Now there's different sources for patches. Some may work, some may not. So just because it's uploaded to the Nexus or any other website doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to work 100% or it doesn't have an issue. So I think I switched over to a different Pre-Vis pre-combined patch for PRP. And as you can see over here, you can see where Gun for Hire became Gun for Hire, and then Mole Rat Tunnels become the Mole Rat Tunnels. So I don't know if this is the same author, but I did see you have Subways of the Commonwealth, and then you have AA. This was the one, Subways of the Commonwealth was the one that was causing the big issue for me, because the one I had was 65.x, whereas others were 65.2, but more importantly, PRP was 69.1. So they all have to be the same version, and that's what I was attempting to do here. So now that it's all done, again, this was a Pre-Vis crash. So now that I put these in here and tinkered around with it, now I'm working on getting back to a solid gaming experience without these Pre-Vis crashes. So let me leave you with that, so you can kind of see, like I say, so you can kind of see that it's if your Pre-Vis doesn't all match version-wise, you'll have issues. And I'm gonna because I gotta start the game up. It takes a few minutes to launch it here, because I've got a ton of reshade effects that need to be compiled. I'll eventually go in and remove all those, so it'll go pretty quick. And then I'll try to show you, because I have to go back into the game again, because I'm gonna have to exit out and go up again and show you what a Pre-Vis problem looks like. So give me a few minutes here, and I'll hop back in and get you guys some more information.